The Tim Heale Thirsty Thursday live stream from 7 until 9 weekly. Here's your host, Tim Heale.
Last half an hour of the show coming up. So last quick plug for the upcoming shows. So make sure you get this in your diary. Make sure that you set your Thursday evenings aside from 7 till 9. You know it's coming, so you might as well book it because there's nothing on the telly. We've got the veteran suicide special coming up next week. Hopefully I've got a couple of really big guests coming on that you won't want to miss. And we're going to try and normalise that conversation, destigmatise mental health and suicide, particularly in the military, but it also filters over into civilian life as well. Once guys leave the military, they become civilians. Once you've been in the military, you never become a civilian again. You'll always be an ex-military or a veteran, but you're part of society, and it has an effect. So that's that. The following week, this is the one that we had to postpone. The archaeological special, that's coming. We've got the archaeologists coming back, and we're going to have a fantastic evening. If you've got questions, put them in the chat box and put a Q beside it so we know that it's a question coming up. The 13th of October, working on a bit of a special at the moment. Hopefully it's going to involve dogs. I'll say no more until I confirm it up. The following week, I'm toying with the idea of having another open forum, or we'll have maybe a cancer special and look at all that. And then the 3rd of November, I've got fighter pilots coming on to talk about their processes, what they do when they're in operations and stuff like that. That's going to be another fascinating chat. So Thursday evenings, get it booked in to your diaries. Right, let's go back to all of our guests. We're going to bring them all in and we'll have some fun. let's talk about stuff. let's do it.
Let's make this party
again. I've got an echo. So that's coming from Charlie, I think.
I'm not doing anything.
I know you're not. but I think it's your speakers are coming out and echoing.
Oh. Now, let me swap to my phone and I'll be back then.
Okay.
It's yours, Tim.
It's not me. I've been talking all the way through and it's not been echoing.
You've been even Corin said he was echoing.
Yeah, but that's when I was talking to Charlie.
Oh well.
In the meanwhile, I'd like to say something to Richard because I loved your story. It was so beautiful.
Hi, Catherine.
And something spoke to me, and I feel like I should say it. You know, I know that Becky's passing was unexpected in the car next to you, but at the same time, you know, she could have passed anywhere, in the hospital by herself or with you, but she was by your side.
That's very true. Yeah.
Going to a funeral to do what you do, I think in my heart, I feel like she was like, oh, I'm at peace now. I'm here with him. He's doing what he loves. He's doing what he's passionate about. And she was so at peace that she could pass. So I just wanted to say that. Sorry.
Thank you very much. She was a musician as well.
Yes.
Yeah, we both played in a brass band together, and that's how we met, basically, through music. And I saved her from the abuse that she was getting with her husband, and everything. And she had a fantastic life, to be honest. We went everywhere together. There was nowhere that I went where Becky wasn't with me. And because she enjoyed music that much, no matter where I was traveling up and down this country, she came with me to play when I was playing Last Post at funerals and dedications and everything else. You know, and I played at Harry's funeral not so long ago. You know, and it was
Just a
it
few
was
weeks
quite
back.
good because I'd known Harry and Catherine for years when we both served in the same battalion together. And
Berlin days.
pardon?
I just
Berlin
can't think of
days.
What was that, Tim?
When days in Berlin.
Oh yeah, when we was in Berlin and all that.
Gillingham.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, even before you, you know, when you came to Berlin and what have you. You know, because I was at the depot in 1975 as well. Before then, for 2 years instructing.
Yeah,
And
well,
then,
I was at the depot. I left the depot in 75.
yeah,
and went to Munster.
I actually went in 1975 for my first tour of 2 years, and you know, I knew Harry and Kath, you know, when they got married and everything.
Mm.
You know, when we was in Munster even.
Yeah, I think that Harry joined us in Gillingham when we first
Oh,
got
that
to
was in
Gillingham.
77. What, 76?
76 when we
Yeah.
came back
Well,
from
I was
Munster
at the
in
depot then
76.
as an instructor.
Yeah.
And when I came back to the battalion in 77, just before we went to Northern Ireland,
Yeah.
and that horrible trip up the North Sea to Denmark when we did the 2-week NATO exercise.
That was horrendous.
Right,
That flat bottom thing. God,
yeah, it
damn.
was, yeah, on the Sir Galahad before it got blown up in the Falklands a few years later. But anyway, yeah. So my experience of death is quite extensive because I'd lost lots of friends in the army in Northern Ireland and various other conflicts, and it's complete. I lost my parents within 3 years of each other. My dad died first, and then my mum died 3 years ago. And me and my mum were really close, but me and my father weren't very close. Mainly because he was in the army and he tried to tell me all the things about being in the army. And you learn by experience, and Tim knows that from us serving together in the same battalion.
Absolutely.
You learn a hell of a lot of stuff when you're in the army about life and death, obviously. But to me, talking to people like last week, I was just listening in the background, and I saw. I listened to what Marie said about her books and her experiences, and there was it Scott,
yeah.
Scott
Scott.
who lost his son
and
committed
his
suicide
daughter.
and and stuff like that, and it's really, really bad, and
that's unbelievable.
It's absolutely, it really is sad. And the month before Becky died, she died at the beginning of March. In the later, I think it was probably the last week in January, I lost a sister, and she was the middle one of the seven of us. I'm the eldest of seven, and when she was born through lack of oxygen, and she was brain damaged. And when she was probably 3 or 4, the doctor said that she'd never be able to walk. And at the time, I was only 10. And
you were the beacon of hope.
Well, yeah, it's very true. I was 10 years old as the eldest in the family, and I said to my mum and dad, I said, she will be able to walk because I'll teach her.
Yep.
And at 10 years old, I taught her how to walk and everything. I used to hold her up and try and get her to walk. And it took me a long time. And then a couple of years later, I used to run a boys' club in the village where we lived. And I did a 24-hour sponsored walk around the village for handicapped kids. For like, it used to be the Spastic Society, but it's called something else now. And she would never be able to talk, but she learned to walk through my perseverance and everything else. And I raised quite a lot of money, and it was in one of the national newspapers my story and trying to teach my sister how to walk. But over the years, obviously, being in the army and having kids of my own, and now I've got 8 grandkids, expensive, and everything else, you know. But Becky, when Becky came into my life, it was probably one of the best experiences of being with somebody who loved me as much as she did, because of what I did for her initially, and it was such a big shock. But the worst thing about it was, a couple of days before she died, I went in, because she couldn't move, and she had no care when she came out of hospital apart from me. And the worst of it was, I got a letter probably 6 weeks ago from a nurse, a senior nurse from the hospital, saying that Becky had refused a care plan. And I know for a fact that she wouldn't do that. I know for a fact that she wouldn't do that because of the way she was. And I'm still trying to fight it at the moment, and it's hard work, because the NHS, as good as it is probably one of the best services in the world, free services in the world. And I've got lots of admiration for the NHS. I've got a daughter-in-law who's a sister with the NHS, and Becky was in care before. She was a support worker for people with mental health and learning difficulties and all that, and Down syndrome people and all that. So she knew what she was doing, and I know for a fact that she wouldn't refuse care, aftercare, when she'd been in a coma for 10 days in hospital, like I said before. And it's just annoying that they're so good at covering each other's backside, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Doctors and surgeons and nurses, that they'll do anything to cover their own inefficiencies, as I call it. You know, and it's really annoying, because Becky was such a lovely person. I think you met her once, Tim, when I played at the funeral.
Yeah, I believe so.
My beautiful redhead. And you know, and it's so annoying, because she loved music just as much as I did, and she used to annoy me at times, because she could do things better than me, but I was a better player than her. You know what I mean, and stuff like that. And we used to argue like mad when we played duets and everything. You know, and I'll say, "You're not playing that right." So, "Yes, I am," and all this, that, and the other. You know, just bouncing off each other. But at the end of the day, I was annoyed with the NHS. But talking about grief, I think I'm coping really well, because I'm doing what I enjoy doing. I love my music. I love the army.
And you're carrying her with you. She is.
Pardon? Oh, she's with me. Yeah. Every day she's with me.
This is how you keep her alive.
Well, yeah, you know,
and you honor her.
When was it? Sunday evening, we had a vigil for a minute for Her Majesty the Queen. God bless her. And I stood to attention, as you do, and I've got Becky's photo and I put it to my heart.
No, I was going to say, you'd say you rescued her, but I think she rescued you in many ways.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well,
she also got you really more competitive in your music, because she was so good that you played off each other.
She was good. She was good at certain things. She wasn't a very good reader of music. I'll give her, you know.
Yeah, but she could play maybe by her ear.
But she could play by ear. Oh, crikey, yeah, could she just? And she used to annoy me when she used to pick my cornet up or something like that, and she'd play away. And I'm saying, oh, I wish I could do that. Well, in my younger years, when I was learning to play and got to a good standard, obviously I could do it. But now there's a famous piece of music that I play at a concert with my band now. There's a solo called Concerto de Orange Wes. And it's a solo that in the film called Brass Off, and it's played on the flugelhorn. And I play that solo in every concert that we do this year. And it brings a tear to my eye, because I know Becky played it as well, and I've got photos of Becky playing and all this, that, and the other. And I'm so used to standing up and playing in front of people, especially being a good bugler that I am as well. And I've stood up in front of thousands and played the bugle, but I've never actually stood up and played a solo in front of hundreds of people. But this year, with the music scene now in this country, brass band wise, and doing lots of concerts and outdoor stuff, I've got no choice, and there's hundreds of people out there, so I've got no choice but to stand up and play this solo. And I enjoy it. I love every single minute of it. But I must
And she'll
admit,
be right there by your side as
honestly,
you're playing.
she's right there with me, and she'll be saying to me, "Oh, you made a mistake here." I can hear her saying it. You know what I mean? And and everybody makes mistakes. I'm not brilliant. I must admit, I'm not brilliant, but I do the best I can. But when it comes to bugling, I'm one of the best, and I do admit that. And Tim will back me up. And there's lots and lots of people of mine and Tim's friends that say, we'll keep listening. What I said earlier about Harry's funeral, Stephen's funeral, all the guys from the battalion that were there when I was in there. I was commanding officer's bugler for God knows, how many years. And they said to me, "We'll be listening." I said, "Yeah, just like you did when I was on duty in the battalion." And it really went well. And I just try and do my best. I try and play to the best that I can now. But I'm a lot older than I used to be, and my eyes don't work as quick as my fingers can, and everything else, But I still love music, and I'll be playing music until my last dying breath. And I've also made
another poacher this week.
Yeah.
So did you see that Barry Atkins died this week?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Another great poacher.
Yeah, another great guy. Yeah, I did mention it. I did put a comment on. But yesterday I played last post near Ipswich for a Fusilier, the last regiment when I ended up as a drum major with them. And his brother lives not far from me, and he was in the Queen's Regiment, but he joined the Royal Regiment of Fusiliers. So I was playing at our National Arboretum on Saturday for a regiment and all that, and it's just one of those things that I enjoy doing, and it makes me grieve better knowing that Becky's by my side.
Yes.
And I'm just getting on with life. Like I said before, she said to me some time ago, "Why are you still with me?" And I said to her, "Well, why do you think I'm still with you? I love you to bits, and I still do, And she's always there, no matter what I do music wise. She's always there." Yeah. And she was a fantastic player as well. She was a really good player.
And that's a really important lesson for people to take away.
Well, it is, yeah. It's to do what you enjoy doing, what you did enjoy doing together. Yeah. And I find it a lot better for me because I'm still involved in music and everything else. And my band was so... when Becky came out of hospital after being in the coma, it was on a Friday and we had band rehearsal. And I said to her, "Do you want to come to band practice with me?" And she said yes. So I wheeled her into the band room and everybody stood up and clapped.
Ah.
And it was a fantastic thing for Becky, with the support that every single member of our band did, just for Becky coming back into the band room. And it was good for her because she got that much support. And even when we went to funerals for the Royal Anglian Regiment or the Poachers, which I've got hundreds of great friends still after all these years, and losing Poachers as well and playing at their funerals is an honour for me. But Becky met lots of friends that she would never have met before.
Yeah.
And then me serving with the Royal Regiment of Fusiliers, she met lots of friends there that she would never have met before. So she had hundreds of friends that supported her as well when she died. And the funeral, the chapel was absolutely full of banding people and regimental people, even Gurkhas. And the Gurkhas loved her to bits. I think it was her red hair. She was a natural redhead and everything else, and they loved her to bits. And
I think 1 year I went to 20 funerals of
Well,
poachers.
I've done nearly 30 this year alone.
Yeah.
Wow.
But you do all sorts of regiments. But
Well,
I
I
think
do
one year we
all of our
lost
forces.
20 in 1 year.
Oh yeah, I
which
know.
was,
I know.
I mean, it's crazy. And Harry and I went to most of them together.
Yeah, you
We-
did.
we
I
Yeah.
remember
to
you
meet-
and Dad
meet up.
travelling up and down the country most
Yeah.
felt like every week.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I really can imagine that because I knew what your dad was like anyway. And even Billy Friend, we became really good friends in the battalion. We was on the same card and promotion carders and everything together. And playing for Marlene's dad as well. That was a bit of a shock for me as well because I knew him as well. And I've lost a lot of good friends in both regiments that I served with, and like Tim, we've lost a hell of a lot of people.
Can I
It's like
ask a question
Of course
to
you
all
can,
of
yeah.
you?
Uh-huh.
So we talk about the sadness and we talk about the loneliness. And I know that it is, it is challenging as much as you're trying to do the things and carry on. But what advice would you have to when you are in that process, when it is fresh? What are the things that you need from the people that you love? I mean, we talk about just being with someone, but what are the things, and are you able, or were all of you able to ask for what you needed when you were in that pain? Because it is very difficult to express. And I think, we know just sitting there and having someone listen to us, but what do you think would be the most helpful for you in that process?
Difficult
Well,
question.
for me, I think I
I want.
think talking
Yeah,
to
I would
people,
say
and I
talking
think
to people.
and let your emotions out.
Yeah.
Don't hold it in. Don't bottle it up.
I want to jump in.
It's
here.
okay to be not okay, and it's okay to cry in front of people.
Right.
I
would
do
like.
constantly. Sorry, Kathy.
No, so I'm sorry. I do want to jump in on this because this is a big thing for parents who've lost a child. Holidays and Mother's Day and all these things are so painful to us. And the people around us, they don't mention your child because they don't want to upset you. But what happens from our perspective when you've lost a child is like, they're gone. They've been erased. Nobody is talking about them anymore. When your child was alive, you talked about them all the time. And now that they're dead, nobody can talk about them. And people think they're being kind. And also they are uncomfortable bringing it up. But they're trying to be kind by not like stirring up the pot. But they don't understand you want to talk about your child.
Yeah.
And everybody is acting like your child never existed. And it is so painful.
It is.
So
It is. Yeah.
my
I
advice
agree.
my advice to people is, even if it's uncomfortable, even if you just say something as simple as, wow, I'm thinking about Lisa today, and you give that person a hug and say, I've been thinking about her all day and she is so alive in my heart. Like, just acknowledge that person who has passed, because suddenly it becomes a taboo subject and nobody talks about it, and that makes you feel worse. They think they're doing you a favor and they're being kind to you, but they're not. You still got it in you, and it just feels terrible. I had to throw that in. Sorry.
No, that was awesome. And then I'm
was
curious,
awesome.
Stephanie, because it's new and fresh for you.
Yes.
And what can we do for you to support you in your grief to help you?
Charlie.
Oh, me?
Stephanie's gone to bed.
Oh, sorry. Charlie.
This is the younger sister.
I apologize, Charlie.
That's okay. I think because it's still quite fresh for me.
Yes.
I'm at the stage where I want to talk about him, and I want to talk about him lots, and then all of a sudden it's sensory overload, too much is happening, and I want to stop talking about him
Yes.
right then. And I'm like, okay, now I'm done. Let's change the subject. But the person who you're talking with doesn't necessarily understand
what you're going through.
that process at that time. And I'm like, it's okay, now it's done. And then it's almost
flexible. Is what
yeah,
you're saying.
yeah, because I love talking about him, and then obviously normally funny stories turn into emotions, and then the emotion, and then it gets to a point where like we could be out in the middle of town, and I know it's okay to cry anywhere, but there's certain situations where you suddenly think, I don't want to do this here.
This has gone
we stop now?
sideways. This is not where I want to go. So being there, you're saying being there and being flexible and talking, and then when you give the cue, I don't want to talk anymore. Then
yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, because I think it's just as important to talk about what we need from other people and then let them know. Like, and there isn't a right or wrong way. However you are feeling, whatever you are feeling, there is not a right or a wrong way. And so and that wave will come. And so having that signal, and maybe if it's a good friend, maybe we can say to that friend, hey, I need to talk about this, but I may have, I may hold my finger up.
Yeah.
If that's your signal.
I'm done now.
No more.
Right now. I got something.
But maybe we should have it as a standard.
Done now.
Thank you so much for bringing that up, Cheryl, because not everyone who's watching might be dealing with a loss. They might be dealing with someone else who's had a loss.
Right. And that's what I'm thinking.
Really difficult because people are weirded out by death. So first of all, it triggers all of their stuff. But then on top of that, they're trying to be thoughtful to you. So they avoid the subject. It's like the elephant. It becomes the elephant in the room. And
it's either they completely avoid it or it's all they talk about.
Right. Because they're like nervous and they don't really know what to do, but they're trying to be supportive. And so I love that you brought that up, Cheryl, to help viewers who might not be experiencing loss right now, but might have a loved one who is, and they're uncomfortable and don't know what to do.
Right, because I think sometimes it is that, like, you want to do something for someone. Most of us want to help.
Of course we do.
And sometimes our help is not helpful. So we need to know. We need to educate as well as have that conversation about how painful and what the process is like. Each one of us is processing it differently. But how can people help and support us? And the other thing I will say is don't go away. If someone in your life has lost someone.
You said that last week, and I love that message. Thank you for bringing it up again.
Yeah, because that's one thing that I have noticed is that in the beginning, everybody's there and they're all, helping and feeding and doing all the things. And then the months go by and they kind of back away, but that's when the loneliness and the heart rate, just because it's been a year or just because it's been 2 years doesn't mean they don't still need you and need your support.
Thank you so much. That's the silent grief that I'm talking about that happens later when everybody goes back to their life except you.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. Yeah, it was such a great point.
Yeah.
Well,
it is.
I think this has been a pretty cool chat tonight. I think everybody's had a massive influence and a wonders that you've brought. But unfortunately, we've got to draw a close to this. we're at an end.
We are.
2 hours
like to thank you, Tim.
By. No,
I'd like to thank you, my friend.
No,
we've known each other a long time, and it was great actually talking about my experience.
Yeah,
and I was listening to Cheryl last week, and some of the points that she came out with, they did help me, in quite a lot of ways, honestly. And having known Tim and Steve Meekums and his family, since even when the girls were growing up, and it's great. And it was lovely. It was an honor for me to play at Harry's funeral, to be honest.
Mm.
And it was very fitting. And I think
I can only thank you for that.
Yeah, so
But
it's
we're
time
going
to
to have
go.
to close the show.
It's
We're going
been
to have to
lovely
close the
listening
show,
to you all.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to thank each of you individually and drop you out, and then I'll close up the show. If you
Cheers,
want to hang
buddy.
about for a few minutes after, just for a wash up, please hang about.
Charlie and Richard, love to you, because I know you both have very recent losses.
Thank you very much.
I'm done now, I promise.
So, Charlie, thank you for joining in tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. So,
see you later, Charlie.
See you, Charlie. Richard.
Love the applause.
Thank you for sharing your story. I think
you're very welcome, my friend.
If it just helps one person, it's done its job.
There's been a few comments, and I see Tim Hagen's been on as well about music.
Yeah,
I didn't even know he played the trombone. My things about trombone is it's good for clearing corners with a duster on the end when he put the slide right out. Brilliant. My conductor's a trombonist with a famous brass band as well. So
brilliant.
Take care, my friend.
Cheers, Richard.
Thank you.
Oh.
I love your applause.
We'll give it some laughter as well.
Ooh, laughing too. Oops, wrong button.
Cheryl, again, thank you so much for joining in tonight. Your input has been invaluable.
Thank you.
So we'll catch up soon.
Yes.
Catherine, your story has really struck home, and I think if it just helps one person, that's lost a child, then we've done
that makes
job.
My daughter's death more meaningful. So thank you.
Yeah.
Whoever you are out there, that one person, thank you.
Thank you. Well, that's the end of another Taboos Thirsty Thursday live. Hopefully you've got a lot from it. We've got a lot of stuff coming up in the weeks to come. I like the idea. I saw something that somebody put up earlier. I lost it. Hang on, where'd it go? That one. That's what I wanted. Talking about some of the postings that we've been on. I think that could be quite an interesting chat, actually. I'll get a load of poachers on and we'll have a fun evening. And I'm sure there's stories that will come out of there that will help people. So until next Thursday, the Taboo Thursday, next week is the suicide special. Hopefully you'll all tune in again. Set it in your calendar. Every Thursday we're going live. Every week we'll have a new topic that's a taboo topic that we're going to try and normalise that conversation on. So thank you, everybody that's been out there and contributed tonight. We couldn't do this show without you. So just remember to click the like button, click the subscribe button. You're obviously putting comments in the chat box, which is massively thanked. And until next week, TTFN, ta-ta for now.
The Tim Heale Thirsty Thursday live stream from 7 until 9 weekly.